Hey guys, it's me Giovanni. I'm back with another video. My dad is at work on Sunday today, which is good. And for now, I want to talk about, again about Fnaf 4 being solved, including sister location, and probably even Midnight Motorist. But then again, Midnight Motorist has already been solved. Sometimes it's still debated, but it's clearly about the Aftons or what, or it might be about a family that's that almost that almost that it's some the family's event is similar to the Aftons, where the father comes home later that night, either after work or something happened. He's no longer allowed at the bar. He comes home, his wife is sitting on the couch watching TV, and she tells him not to bother the son because he had a rough day, probably at school or something. The father doesn't listen. He tries to get an answer for him to open the door, but he doesn't. He goes outside to notice that his son's door has been broken, and he probably assumed that he run away to that place again. Now, one of the things in the game files, it's called Later That Night. The father says that he's gone to that place again. There's footprints, probably that were watching the window, and mostly animatronic footprints because there's like 3 toes, and there's a bush, like a patch of grass and dirt. But I can pretty much say that the grass is supposed to be a grave. Later that night takes place after Charlie's death, and Michael is the runaway kid. Junior's is obviously a bar. It's not Freddy's location. Not yet. Not ever. And finally, William says that Michael has gone off to that place again. Because people might have assumed, especially from Midnight Motorist, and especially since the recent book with the story Didophobia, it's just that Roy ran away from his parents because they didn't love him. But his parents were described that his father is absent, probably off to work, and his mom is a neat freak, scolding him for a mess that he makes. So, then again, Midnight Motors, if it wasn't about the Aftons, it's just about some random family, or probably one of the missing children, or just a child that William kidnapped in order to experiment on. Now, it's obviously that it's not one of the missing kids. That's not even possible. And you've gotta be fucking kidding me. Why? Sorry, Guillermo. My stepbrother. Are you fucking kidding me? Anyways, so Midnight Motors is not about one of the missing children. It's probably not even about. It's probably not about Roy either, or any child that William Afton experimented on. Sure, the footprints looking at the window are neat, like a usual animatronic, and sure, maybe William Afton hid his spring Bonnie suit in the bushes, but the father doesn't exactly question those things. In fact, well, I mean, come on. It's obviously that Midnight Motorist is about the Aftons, but from the location, that looks vastly different from the one in Fnaf 4 because, okay, so in the original layout of the map shown like this, shown on the left, the top left, is the house or the map of the Five Nights at Freddy's 4 minigame. And let me just tell you, these two other ones that are supposed to be rooms from the Fnaf 4 house are experiments. Meanwhile, the one on the top left isn't. It's the Afton's actual house, and they live right near the Fredbear's Family Diner. And the reason why I'm saying that this isn't an experiment, because the experiments are part of the underground facility. And since, well, the Aftons live in a house that's obviously on the surface, I can obviously see that this extended version has an elevator. Like, okay, I think what happens is that William goes to a door in one of the rooms, probably in the storage room, one of the storage rooms or the parts and service, and he goes to this elevator to go underground to the facility, and this elevator is in Circus Gallery. Meanwhile, the main elevator is underneath his work after robotics. Don't ask how that's even possible. So, I mean, okay. So, William wanted to recreate the fact that his youngest son, well, I'm just going to call him Evan instead of the Crunch Out. So, Evan was afraid of the animatronics, specifically Fredbear. And, he wanted to recreate something. Well, he recreated his son's room, but more spacious, having 2 doors on each side and a closet in the middle, and with nightmare versions of the original animatronics, specifically from his son's plushies. And his son's plushies are his friends. And this is what I said in the last video. If he was afraid of these things, the nightmare animatronics, because they were supposed to be his plushies, he wouldn't think that they're his friends anymore. And I was thinking about it because William Afton he never experimented on his children. He's not some sort of... He became a mad scientist after discovering Remnant, after he murdered the missing children, and probably even... So he created Circus Baby's Pizza World, and he built the Funtime animatronics to capture children and later kill them. But Circus Baby accidentally kills Elizabeth. And William just he goes even more of an upset grieving spiral, where he still kills children, especially kidnap them from the Funtime animatronics, and does other experiments, including the recreation of the Fnaf 4 house. Now, it's obviously an underground bunker, part of the underground bunker, because it's supposed to look like a house, except there's no doors to the outside, except for the doors in the room, the main bedroom. And, okay. And Fun with Plush Drop is also an experiment. And multiple kids have been in these experiments and died, except for one kid, Roy. And even though these are the things that don't add up to me. First off, it's said that the experiments have been abandoned for a long time, and Roy has been in the experiment, the main experiment being the nightmare animatronics in the Fnaf 4 bedroom, for like 10 years. And it's never specified if William died or not, or just he probably just abandoned them because he probably just left it after he gathered enough remnant for immortality, decided to dismember the original animatronics in Fnaf 1 when it was closed. He dies in 1995, if I can remember. And Sister Location takes place after Fnaf 1. And here's the thing that doesn't add up either. So, Rory's experience when finding out about the facility, the Funtime animatronics are still there, meaning that this somehow happens during or before Sister Location. So, my guess is that, okay, so it's been abandoned for a long time, and Roy had been in the experiment for 10 years. My guess is that William became a mad scientist in 1985 to 1986. In 1986, his daughter Elizabeth dies due to his experiments. He decides to continue the experiments with the Fnaf, one of them being the Fnaf 4 bedroom, and the other being Fun with Plush Trap, recreating his the Fnaf 4 locations in the Fnaf 4 games, where even with Fun with Plush Trap being a minigame where it takes place in a similar background, similar to the Fnaf 4 bedroom. Multiple children died from the experiments except for Roy. Roy had been one of the children that he kidnapped during those 10 years ago in 1986, after his 7th birthday. And since this takes place before Sister Location, like the exact Sister Location gameplay, with Michael's story being scooped, and okay, there's another thing. So, William abandoned the experiments and left it on auto just I don't know, maybe to continue torturing the kids without being there anymore. I guess that's what happened. So, his son Michael gets scooped by the scooper, and since remnant was in the scooper is injected to Michael, which made me question, would the remnant actually accidentally make Michael immortal, similar to his father? But then again, Michael becomes a zombie, and he collapses onto the sidewalk and barfs out Ennard's remains, and Circus Baby tells him that he will not die, especially since he has remnant inside of him. And that remnant is part of the memories which were part of the children. So, Michael has some nightmares about the experiments, especially since, well, it doesn't question why there were footprints looking out the window, but I'm not going to question it. Maybe it was just an illusion, part of, nightmares? Actually, wait, since Nightmare Fredbear wasn't the one looking out the window. Maybe it was Shadow Freddy. Shadow Freddy and Shadow Bonnie was created by the fear and agony and evil within the things that happened, especially the experiments. So Michael has a nightmare about the experiments and draws Nightmare Fredbear in a recent, in his book, Discovering Recent Dreams, before Fnaf 3, where I'm thinking it's the reason why he gets the job in the first place. Because, I mean, okay, I'm just gonna end it here and probably continue in the next video. Bye.